Be very careful with Klonopin, especially if you're not sure on the exact dosage of the pills you are consuming. I recently had a very unfortunate experience with this substance resulting from irresponsible use and lack of knowledge concerning the strength of the pills. I will share my experience with you here, though I must stress that I am doing so for informational purposes only, and to provide you with an example of the trouble that making bad choices regarding this drug can lead to. It was about noon on a seemingly normal day in mid-October, around the 20th I believe, when a friend of mine called me up and expressed his elation over having found a cheap connection for Klonopin pills from someone with a prescription. As the avid fan of drugs that I am, I had no hesitation in providing a ride and forking over a few bucks for what I knew to be a great relaxing high from past experience with the drug. So after running my buddy across town, he returns to my car from his hookup's house with a handful of green Klonopins, which he believed to be 0.5 milligrams each, which upon later research I found to be incorrect, as they were actually 2 milligram pills, though I'm not sure what had led him to believe otherwise to begin with, as he should have taken a look at the bottle anyway. So long story short, we end up snorting 3 of the pills each, major fuck-up number 1, and thereafter make the impaired decision to drive to another friend's house to obtain a quarter bag of some good mids. Unfortunately, I failed to realize just how impaired I was due to the relaxed and uncaring state of mind this drug puts me in, and the fact that the dosage we'd insufflated was significantly higher than what we had intended upon or we were accustomed to. And I decided that I would be fine to drive across town to our friend's apartment, major fuck-up number 2. Well, all was going fine, or so I thought. That is, until I managed to hit someone's bumper while pulling into a parking space to turn around due to lack of coordination and misjudging the distance between my vehicle and the parked one due to my impairment. While initially struck with the urge to take off and hope no one noticed, it was quite obvious that several people had seen the accident and that we were fucked. So I proceed to back up and correctly park in the space I was trying to turn around in, and approach the owner of the car, who by this time had exited their apartment and was walking our way. I immediately apologized and offered my information to the woman, asking only that she please not notify my insurance and ensuring her that I would indeed pay for the damage within the next 2 days. After a short discussion, she said all was fine and that she would call later in the afternoon. Unfortunately, my friend and I hadn't realized just how fucked up we were and that we appeared blatantly intoxicated to the owner of the vehicle, as well as many bystanders. As we proceeded to return to my vehicle and exit the parking lot, a police cruiser drove directly past us in the direction of the woman's house without their lights or siren on, and in the mindfuck state which we were in, we paid them little attention and decided to go ahead and continue to our friend's house. Major fuck-up number 3. Somehow, unbeknownst to me, we managed to make it safely across town without further incident, and were happily toking away in our friend's bedroom when the state police came pounding on his door demanding to see me outside immediately. This scared the living shit out of my friend, as he was sufficiently stored and his whole house reeked of pot, and he ordered me to get out there and deal with them before we all ended up getting busted. At this point, I, accompanied by my equally fucked up buddy that rode with me, exited our friend's home to approach the police. Immediately upon exiting the house, we found ourselves in the presence of 2 state police officers and 3 local officers who demanded we walk straight forward and put our hands on the hood of one of their cruisers. In the fucked up state I was in, somehow I thought that the officers had said to put my hands in the air instead of on the car, which agitated the officers and led them to issue me a sobriety test, which I failed with flying colors immediately, and confiscate my keys before cuffing me and stuffing me into the back of a cruiser. Thereafter, they performed an unauthorized search. I did not give permission, nor did they bring out the drug dog to check around the perimeter of my car, whereupon they confiscated 19 grams of marijuana. Plant material, mind you, not bud, though I was still charged with possession, of course, and drug paraphernalia in the form of a 2-foot-tall glass water bong from my trunk. After several minutes, one of the officers opened the rear passenger side door and informed me that I was being arrested for leaving the scene of an accident, driving under the influence of an unspecified substance, as well as possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Long story short, I was hauled off to jail, completely incoherent, uncoordinated, and somnolent at this point, where I spent the night and the majority of the following day in a freezing-ass detox cell, before I managed to make a phone call to get myself bailed out. All in all, the poor judgment I used to make the bad choices I did on that day has cost me around $2,000, as well as my license for 30 days, with its return dependent on my attending DUI classes. My freedom now essentially rests on paying my fines off by the end of the year. Oh, I'm an unemployed student, by the way, which makes this task especially difficult. Attending all of my DUI classes and pissing clean on all of my monthly drug tests for a year. I have 180 or so days now resting on the shelf, which I will have to serve automatically if I get busted again, as well as 2 years of probation and constantly depending on others for rides until I've completed my DUI classes so I can get my license back. Hopefully I haven't wasted my time by typing all of this up, and that my having gone through this shitty experience due to one poor decision regarding Klonopin will influence at least one person who reads this to use caution and intelligence when and if they ever plan on using the substance. It can impair you to a much greater degree than you might anticipate, and actually blind you to how fucked up you really are due to the relaxing and carefree nature of its effects. Additionally, any statements users here have made which convey the message that snorting this drug is ineffective are quite mistaken, and though I now realize the amount I insufflated that day exceeds the stand amount most would take for a standard high on the drug, I know from experience that even snorting 1 or 2 milligrams of Klonopin is enough for one to experience a significantly noticeable effect from them. Finally, not to be preachy, but merely to reinforce what I've already said, please be careful with this drug and do not underestimate its ability to impair you, and above all, do not drive after ingesting the substance or any other. If you drive impaired, it's only a matter of time before you'll get caught, and as soon as you do, none of it will have been worth it at all. I've learned this from experience, so please take my word on this, so that you don't have to. I had a prescription for 31 milligram clonazepam from my psychiatrist. I decided to fill it, knowing that I had blacked out before while on these pills. Well, the problem is, I'm kind of an irresponsible druggie. I started out by eating 4 milligrams at home. From there, I went over to my friend B's house because he said he had some herb and would smoke me out. From this point forward, I don't remember a damn thing. I guess I ended up giving him about 5 1 milligram pills, and we were drinking beer as well. He blacked out but ended up just falling asleep, his roommate said. I'm pretty sure I ate the last 16 to 21 milligram pills while I was already blacked out. I must have left his house because he was asleep. His roommates had left at this point and were out somewhere. I was told I drank about 5 beers. I left the house while B's roommates were out. B was asleep when I left. And this is where shit gets fucked up. I wake up 2 days later in my apartment with strange clothes on, a black eye, a lost wallet, and lost keys. At this point, I had no idea that I had been to the hospital. All I knew is that I had blacked out for about 2 days and that I had gotten really fucked up. About 4 days later, I received a hospital bill for $30,000. Yes, $30,000 for one night in the hospital. According to the hospital, police found me in the street unconscious and barely alive. The hospital had to do a full-blown medical evaluation, including very expensive CT scans, x-rays, and a whole lot more. I don't remember being in the hospital. I don't remember being at my friend's house. All I remember was eating 4 pills to start the night and asking my friend if he had some herb. $30,000, you say? Sounds just like a bag of saline. I've always suffered from anxiety problems, but have struggled in finding the proper medication. Doctors would always tell me that benzodiazepines were too addictive and that psychological therapy was my best bet. I never actually tried it out, but I knew it wouldn't solve the problem. But one day, a good friend of mine who works at a hospital pharmacy had a patient return all his medications, don't know why, and one of those was a bottle of clonazepam drops. Knowing about my anxiety problem, he brought it to me, and I really thought it was the solution to my anxiety. That night, I took 10 drops, 1 milligram, and was surprised that such a high dose barely had an effect on me. So I took another 10 drops and still almost no effect. So I went out for a walk, and for some reason I tried to open cars as I walked by them, just to see if they'd be open. All of a sudden, I realized one of the car doors was open, so I went inside, stole different photocopies, useless, I have no idea why I took them, and got out. As soon as I walked out, there were 2 guys standing there, and they asked me what the fuck I was doing with all that stuff. I stupidly told them it was my car, but it turns out the car was his. They immediately called the cops and I got arrested. I was pretty nervous, but soon enough they gave me all my stuff back and told me to go in the other car. They then drove me to the police station and told me to wait in the waiting room. I was so nervous I took an unknown amount of drops, but judging by how much was left the next day, I'd say it was a lot. Anyways, my uncle came over and got me out. He's a police officer himself, and I honestly forgot our conversation on my way home. After I got home, my uncle started talking to my aunt about what had happened, and although he didn't know about the clonazepam, she did. So after he left, she told me to give her the drops, and I strongly refused and almost even hit her, or so she tells me. I don't even remember that, and left the house. I then took even more drops somewhere along the way, and then all I remember is seeing a pickup truck with the key in the door. I opened it up and stole it. Then I somehow ended up in a hospital parking lot. I drove there, I guess, and hit the back of a parked SUV by accident. I then fled the scene and ended up in a well-known mall. All I remember after that was being in a completely different part of town, not knowing I was totally wasted, with the police chasing after me. I got kind of scared, so I parked the truck on the side of the road. I then got arrested again, and the police thought I was mentally ill, since I denied having drank or taken any drugs. They then took me to another police station where I waited for nearly 8 hours till the captain or whatever showed up. We're talking about the Middle East here, and my uncle once again came to get me out, although he did warn me that if it happened again, he wasn't gonna help me. So that's basically the end of the story. I had never broken into cars, stolen cars, or gotten arrested before that, but I think the scariest part of it all was that I didn't even know I was intoxicated. I was uncoordinated, sleepy, had slurred speech, but I didn't even know I was intoxicated at all. I've had severe anxiety all of my life. I later found out a lot of that was attributed to bipolar type 2, rapid cycle, psychotic, long name, right? But that will be saved for the end of our little story. I had been having panic attacks nearly every night for 2 months. I'd go to school around lunchtime and leave within 2 hours due to random onset panic attacks. These attacks honestly didn't have a source. I'd be speaking to friends or teachers and start to feel faint. My heart would race, lungs would close, the works. Eventually, my parents took me to my physician to get me on something, anything to take care of these panic attacks. Had my doctor known my entire family has an addictive personality and that I was once a cutter, I probably would not have been prescribed the drug he gave me. But, things happen. My doctor gave me a script for 10 milligrams of Klonopin. I had taken ecstasy once before, smoked weed maybe twice. I was never heavy into drugs. However, Klonopin, it just felt amazing. I honestly can't put into words how good it felt. Instead of taking one every 8 hours, I'd pop 2 or 3. I somehow managed to remain functional, albeit a bit loopy, but functional nonetheless. The high was beautiful, everything was nice, plants smiled at me, patterns moved in a mesmerizing fashion, air felt wonderful to breathe, colors and sound were immaculate. But, like all good things, this incredible high needed to come to an end. Not completely, of course, I still felt tremendous, but from an outside view, no, this was not a good situation. On Tuesday night, I had taken a total of 8 pills over the course of the day. 1 before school, 1 during school, 2 at lunch, 2 during last period, and 2 at home. I don't remember much. Thankfully, I had the sense to record myself, but I do remember shredding my arm with the razor blade and feeling no pain. The video was nothing short of gruesome. I was far too high to do any more damage than I had done. In the video, however, I do state that I am feeling ecstatic. Life is grand. I could not be happier. Oh, what a beautiful dance the patterns are doing. To me, everything was apparently fine. The next day, the worst possible thing that could have happened. My best friend, whom I was also in love with, was horribly peeved at me for something her aunt claimed I did, which I didn't do. She refused to speak to me, stomped around school, and bolted out of our 6-period class because some kid touched her sweater. This girl is just as messed up in the head as I am, but she doesn't manage it very well. I asked for permission to leave and made my way to the guidance office, and yes, I was high. I had taken at least 5 pills by this point. While in guidance, my counselor noticed the gauze I had done my best to hide. Obviously though, considering how absolutely gone I was, this was to no avail. She looked at the cuts, had her school nurse bandage them, and had my mom take me home for fear I was suicidal. Lucky guess. That night I took 15 Klonopin, tripped many a man's balls, heard voices, saw people plain as day, everything was moving. It was an awful yet nice experience. I mean, had I been sober I probably would have cried and screamed, but Klonopin and stuff. After the Klonopin, I took about 30 of my dad's Xanax, some blood pressure medication to cause a heart attack, and some other random junk I found. I remember the EMTs were very attractive. My dad was pissed off at me. The charcoal they pumped into my stomach tasted like crap, and suddenly, everything wasn't so perfect. I stayed high for at least the 3 days I was in the mental institution, and I remember still feeling a bit out of it the following Tuesday I went to school. This whole thing took place in February. It's now June, and I still crave it. Part of it is just mental, I'm aware, but just recently I was put on a sleeping pill because I was staying up 3 to 4 nights in a row with maybe 20-minute naps due to residual withdrawal. My doctors are unaware it's because I lie awake and crave Klonopin. They just assume it's my bipolar acting up. Because of this bipolar, I now have an excuse to get back on it. My parents are all there for it, I'm hoping. One thing I'm sure of is that I will not be taking more than 3 a day, and if I start to notice suicidal thoughts, I will discontinue usage. Before the Klonopin abuse, I had episodes of hallucinations. After the Klonopin, the hallucinations are far worse. I'd been taking Abilify, Risperidone, and Imipramine, but stopped about 2 weeks ago when the side effects really began to cause me problems: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and panic attacks. Now that I am off of them, I notice the psychotic part of my bipolar very clearly. I'm sure when I'm 18 rather than 16, I'll be diagnosed with mild schizophrenia. It runs in my family. My computer screen doesn't want to keep a solid shape. My keyboard sinks in. Patterns move on their own. Voices whisper in the darkest corners of my mind. I am far more paranoid than I ever was. I have to steal my dad's Xanax just to stay calm most of the time, which really doesn't help my addiction to Klonopin, being that they are both benzos. Oh well, despite it all, I say Klonopin is a good drug. I just have to realize my limits. Being an idiot with drugs is always, well, idiotic.